Pulp MX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everyone, to another LVK More Than Moto podcast presented by Leatt. I'm Kellen Brauer, joined by Phillips, and we have a lot to talk about from a wild weekend of racing. Pretty much consecutive racing for, I don't know, give or take 36 hours. It felt like we were watching stuff going on at WSX. Obviously, Paris had their two-day format, and a whole lot of other fun behind-the-scenes stuff that Lewis got from Vancouver. Obviously, we heard some things about what Steve was doing in Paris this weekend. So there's a lot to unpack from a wild weekend of racing, even though it's in the midst of the AMA offseason. So first of all, Lou, we see you're not home. Where are you?
San Francisco, of all places. Because, and I have to say, I've never been in San Francisco outside of Supercross sort of time. It's very rainy still. Actually, I guess we're November now, aren't we? So of course it will be. But it's very rainy. Yeah, San Francisco, living a dream.
Living the dream. Yeah, San Francisco, like, it's not like Seattle level rainy, but it gets enough like of the fog and stuff to roll in. They usually get some showers throughout the day. So sorry you're not getting better California weather out here.
Yeah, it's a disaster, isn't it? And then it's just a disaster. Couldn't be going much worse, but I'm trying to remain positive because you need to in these tough times.
Does this delay put you back on leaving for Oz?
Yeah, of course. This is why I'm in San Francisco. I'm meant to be landing in Oz in an hour.
Oh.
I missed my connecting flight. My connecting flight was...
Oh, I thought you were connecting home first and you're gonna leave from Tampa. Okay.
No, I was going straight to WSX Open, so I missed my flight from San Fran to Melbourne. And they put me on the same flight 24 hours later. So yeah, instead of getting to Melbourne Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., I get there Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. But I have two major concerns when no one cares about. One, as it stands right now, 12 hours before I take off, my flight is very empty. And it seems at this point that I could have a row to myself. So I am playing seat map roulette aggressively. Like, I was in a seat where I had a row to myself. Then an hour ago, someone moved to the aisle in that row. So I moved to another empty row. And as it stands right now, that empty row is fine. But I'm prepared to look like we are seat map roulette. Two, which will make everyone really angry because this went down so well last time. It's a 16-hour flight. I'm extremely concerned that the aircraft won't have Wi-Fi. And the only reason I'm flying United from San Fran to Melbourne is because after extensive research, it seemed that that flight last night with the aircraft and the route had the best shot at Wi-Fi. The reviews said this. I actually wanted to do many other flights, but the Wi-Fi reviews were shaky at best. We're on a different aircraft tonight, Kellen. All of my research is out the window. So potentially, I have no Wi-Fi, and it's a full flight, and I'm hating my life. Or I have a row to myself, and I have Wi-Fi, and I'm living the dream.
Can we...
once again.
Living the dream. Can we do a contingent... Maybe LVK, a little bit of Ask Me Anything based on whether you have Wi-Fi once you get on the plane tonight. We get like an hour of your time this evening.
You can have more than that. I'm going to be bored out of my skull.
Well, you'll fall asleep. You'll fall asleep tonight.
Well,
but then...
hope, touch wood.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you don't. I started watching Ted Lasso last night. That's quite good. I'm excited to continue that.
You're going to get sucked into it for 16 hours, and then you're going to realize you're really jet lagged by the time you get to Australia.
It's not going to be good. This has fucked me up, though, because, like, now I'm definitely still going to be jet-lagged come Friday and Saturday. So it's really screwed up everything. But never mind. This is the Steve airline of choice. Don't see why. But get this on brand.
Okay, enough of the travel talk, but real quickly just on Vancouver, just talk about the differences that you see from a cultural standpoint, how Supercross is presented, everything that's different about Argentina to Vancouver, because it's rare that we get to stack that kind of really on top of each other, but you get to see it right firsthand week after week right there.
The only similarity was that Max Anstey won both weeks. There is no comparison. Although I will say the fans were loud in Canada. equally loud to Argentina, which was a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, there were more people in Canada, so it makes sense, I guess. I don't know why I'm surprised. I think we just all kind of were a bit down on the Vancouver crowd. But I will tell you, quick more travel talk. My first time to Canada and therefore Vancouver. Very impressed by Vancouver. Very, very, very impressed. Blown away, in fact. So, exciting. I mean, I was going to do this as an article, but maybe it's an LVK thing. I'm obviously doing Argentina, Vancouver, OzX, Gold Coast. I'm going to rank the 4 races from like vibe to city to airport to crowd to track to enjoyment to, so maybe we'll do that as an LVK episode.
All right. Chanceability that your likeness of what Canada presents to you gets you to a Canadian national in this decade.
0.
Didn't like it enough to want to go actually watch motocross up there.
Although last year the Go for Dunes guy was going to pay for me to go up and hang out, so if someone offered me a trip like that, I'd do it.
All right. Well, Canada,
I'm
catch
not
the
paying
fever.
to go to a Canadian national. I'm good.
Catch the fever. All right, let's get into the show. And I wanted to lead off this week by actually talking about the race because we spent 40 minutes on not the race last week. So that'll be our first topic.
Do we need to
day.
clarify that? Because people
What?
were mad. Well, people were mad that, I think people were a bit upset that we're putting WSX under so much scrutiny. So I feel like maybe it deserves some clarification.
We'll get there. Because we have thoughts. We have plenty of thoughts on WSX Vancouver.
No, but I'm saying, should we clarify to the listeners why this matters and why we're doing this versus, because we don't do this with SMX?
Well, sure, but I feel like that's obvious. I mean, I guess not.
Kellen,
If
it's not,
that's how the
people are very
reaction was
mad.
taken. But I mean, most of the comments I saw were people, complaining, hey, man, first week back, stream drops, everyone paid all this money, it doesn't work. We have pop-up Supercross in the middle of nowhere, people had criticisms too. It wasn't just us, but yeah, I mean, you can speak to it as well as I can. There's some proof that needs to be made by this series from where it's come from, which is why the criticism might be a bit more heavy-handed because of that.
Well, it's no different to if I open Lewis's burrito shop, you're going to come in and really analyze every element of it. Whereas if you go in Chipotle, you're not going to think about that stuff. It's a new concept. It deserves to be treated with eyes wide open, and with that comes scrutiny on the most minute details. To some, they don't matter, but to others, I think it's really quite interesting. Like if, for instance, when F1 goes to a new Grand Prix, I listen to the F1 podcast much more willingly because I'm curious as to how it went and whether it was a success and what all of that good stuff. So it's that, but on a grander scale, because this is a whole damn championship.
Well, and to a different level though, it's a new concept, but it's also had enough behind it that we can reflect on where it's been and where it should be going. And that's part of the criticism as well. I would say from a races that have happened standpoint with WSX, it doesn't look like a failure necessarily, but as well as I do, there's a lot of question marks still being raised, both within the industry and out, about how this series is going to go and what's the next steps for them to get back to a level where they wanted to be from where it launched a few years ago. So yeah, I mean, we have to be critical of it because it's not been all flowers and roses. It's been a lot of canceled races and new venues and kind of bad venues to go to and bad locations, but maybe that's going to be solved soon. So that's why we have to run through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, people annoyed me last week just because it's like people genuinely wanted this podcast to be, there was a race. It was in a country somewhere. No one cares. Hayden was there and Ken Roxon won. Whoa. That's boring.
Well, again, I try not to, I still think that's kind of a vocal minority. A lot of people that I had talking to me said that's stuff we need to talk about. So
okay. Well, anyway, on with your topic.
Yes. So before we do that, I want to thank Leatt. Leatt Protection is in our brand DNA. It started 20 years ago with the groundbreaking Leatt neck brace and continues today with an extensive product offering of protective gear and riding apparel. But what Leatt really stands for is inspiring confidence and ensuring safety with every ride. Check out their Moto 9.5 carbon helmet, their 6.5 neck brace, and their X-frame knee braces and more, all available now at leatt.com. Let's get into the meat of the race at WSX Vancouver this weekend. And obviously the biggest storyline was Eli Tomac's Red Bull KTM debut, and he wins. He wins the Super Pole. He wins 2 of the 3 races, battled Kenny quite extensively in race 2. That was fun to see. And I think that this is about as good as we could have expected it to start with his tenure with KTM. A lot of positivity. Yeah, some things maybe he probably wants to work on. Ian said the same thing in your interviews as well, but I think they're feeling pretty good about it, huh?
Yeah, is it almost a little bit concerning? And I wish I'd pushed Ian on this. Like, is it too positive?
No,
is it
because
almost inevitable that there's a fall coming? I don't know.
Well, yes, but I mean, I think that if anything, what's really going to happen is there's going to be more little issues that they come across that it sounds like Eli's going to kind of not care about or just like want to kind of, push through it. At least that's the sentiment it sounded like Ian gave you when he came off the track and after race 2 and Ian was like, well, what do you guys want? What should we do? And Eli was like, I'll figure it out, or like, I'll make it work, because as he said, his technique was wrong in the whoops. That's what he told you, at least. So that's some of the things that he needed to clean up. But I almost wonder if that's where the little hiccups come, is that when they want to maybe fine tune a couple of things, Eli's just going to ride through it, which could be a good thing anyway.
Yeah. Did you feel like the Ian interview included some very subtle jabs at riders before Eli?
I mean, I think naturally there's probably going to be undertones of that. I mean, not that, like, he's probably a little bit still soured that it didn't go better with Chase, and probably feels that they carried Coop to a level he'd never been before, and kind of maybe doesn't get the credit for that. So I can always imagine there's probably a little bit of, well, we're going to prove them wrong. But yeah. I didn't look at that as like, oh, he's going to piss all over them.
I just wonder if obviously it's great to win on debut, but ultimately the reason to be in Canada is to learn and fight fires before Anaheim won. So the fact that no fire came up, I wonder if there's a subtle feeling internally of like, well, that fire's going to come up at some time, and we actually would have really liked it to happen in Canada. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's the big fire in the room, elephant in the room, if you want to call it that everyone's waiting for is shock failures.
Well, we all thought that, didn't we, in the second main when his bike started to dance around a little in the whoops.
Perhaps.
But, yeah, no, like, I just wonder, like, if Vancouver had gone terribly and they'd identified a ton of problems, but they crucially knew how to fix them, I wonder if they'd almost be a little bit more assured. Like, they'd leave Vancouver and go, well, that was a disaster, but we got that out of the way and we're now 5 steps ahead, you know? Whereas ultimately, did they learn anything from Vancouver, I guess would be my question.
Well, but you asked Eli that, and he said yes, right? Or maybe Don did in the swap interview. He said, like, did you learn some stuff? And Eli said, yeah, we did a bunch of stuff today and felt good about it. I think generally, though, like, I understand your point of it went so well that maybe they didn't run into hiccups, but in a way, maybe what is like kind of hidden under the hood there is that they worked through some things together, and it doesn't come out as like, hey, we actually made all these different improvements and changes and stuff today because it just worked so well. So that could also be kind of what's going on, you know, like they could have just naturally made everything go the way it should have. And on top of that, I do think that there's things that he still wants to work on. He said things were great and he's going to fix his technique in the whoops, but I do think that he still left that round going, I think if we went this way, was set up instead, tried a different base, you know, like they're always going to find something different from actually racing the bike. And I think he's already back this week, probably testing, trying to make it better.
Yeah, and I can hear the dumb comments now, like, oh, Lewis thinking that he would have wanted to lose. Of course he wanted to win. Yes, of course. I'm just looking at it on a slightly deeper level. It was a fantastic debut. It was a dream debut, with the exception of losing one main. You couldn't have asked for much more. So it'll be curious to see what happens in Australia, because I think if he wins again in a similar fashion against Webb now and Deegan as well, I think that will really start to stamp the positivity. And that's what I asked Eli after the race, wasn't it? Like, did you start to question whether all of these positive comments and all of that was maybe you hyping it up too much and it could never live up to that? I feel like Australia, it passed Canada, but Australia will be the real benchmark for that.
Yeah, I mean, it will be, because he's going to have a little bit stiffer competition, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and crucially more time, which can be friend or foe, you know? The more time could lead to further improvements or to issues and more problems, new problems.
But I will say, if you look at the field, okay, Deegan's going to be there, Webb will be there, and you could say that's going to add to the flavor of it, if you will. But I'm kind of the opinion right now that Kenny seems to be better than both of those guys in current form, and Eli just beat him. So,
Well, did you agree with my question to Kenny? Because I was thinking about it this morning of whether it was a bit of an insult, maybe.
like
when I
peaking
said to
too
him,
early, you mean?
Yeah, when I said, "Are you worried you're peaking too early because you're really good right now?" Like, I really believe he's really good right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair question to ask because, look, I mean, even if we go back to Roxon's career, he's always started hot, like Anaheim's. He's winning races. He's got the championship lead. And then we get halfway in and there's problems. There's bad races, inconsistency, crashes, whatever you want to call it. And he ends up not battling for a championship by the end of it most of the time. So I think it's a fair question because what happens if we get to A1 and suddenly he's not like ready to go? I think we'd be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit more of a negative tone than I was going with. I just was more pointing out that he is incredible right now. He looks so fluid on the bike, so amazing. With the exception of losing to Tomac almost faultless. But to be honest with you, Kenny did suffer with his starts for the most part. And if you wanted to sit here and tell me that Kenny was better than Eli on Saturday night, I think I wouldn't necessarily jump at that, but I'd certainly like maybe be persuaded.
I think Kenny would say he felt better because, as he said in your post-race interview, he's kind of kicking himself right now that he went to jumping the whoops in the last race. He was catching Tomac. I don't know that he would have passed him or maybe just straight caught him and maybe Tomac could have whipped it up, but he was catching him from 4 seconds back, got it to 2.5 or so, and then started jumping the whoops, and that became a problem. But I think that he maybe reflects on that and goes, I should have won that, and then I would have won it and gone 2-on-1 on a night when Eli Tomac's being hailed as, wow, this debut was excellent.
Yeah, but then equally, similar to what he told me on Friday, does it really matter? Does he really care if he wins? Probably not. You know, it is very much just in the minds of Ken Roxon and Eli Tomac an exhibition because they aren't in it for the championship. They're not even eligible as wild cards, so it is all eyes on Anaheim 1 and it's information gathering.
Would you like to talk now about Roxon's contract, or do you want to wait till we get to the Burwell thing?
Okay, so to quickly synopsize?
Sure.
Is that a word? No.
Yeah. No.
What am I trying to say?
Summarize?
Words are hard. No, I don't know. Words are hard. A quick synopsis. That's what I wanted to say. A quick synopsis. I was trying to get a different tense on that. A quick synopsis. So pre-WSX, we were all over the map with Kenny, weren't we? It was like, he's in for everything, he's out for everything. He's in for everything. You know, like it was very much, I think he's in, no, he's out. I think he's in. So obviously that was while negotiations were going on. Then he was announced as a PMG rider, which you cannot do in WSX unless it's a full-time gig. And then, I asked him on press day why he's not doing the full thing, and he very bluntly said he wants to. He had a contract to do the full season, and WSX pulled it for reasons that he's unclear on, which that's about as far as we've got. I did reach out to Tom for comment, and he no-commented it. He said they don't comment about rider contracts under the Geneva Agreement, which spurred a lot of industry to text me and say, what on earth is the Geneva Agreement? And I said in F1 they have a Concord Agreement. I think they just copied that and changed the name. But yeah, it's a weird deal because crucially on the website, Kenny still isn't listed as a wild card, but he is a wild card. He's no different to Eli. He's just doing one more race. So, like, is this false advertising a little bit? Because I don't think they're very forthcoming with Kenny's not going to Sweden, everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to like get into the negatives yet. I wanted to say that a little bit later. But I will say one thing, talking about the Geneva Agreement, again, for those people that are like, what is that? It is basically just the agreement between the series and the teams / riders about how this is all going to go, how contracts work, who's in, who's paying what, how much, all this stuff like that. And they call it the Geneva Agreement, I'm guessing because they did it in Geneva. I don't know. Maybe they just came up with some random name, but it's a 3-year deal. Started this year, goes to 2027. With the teams and everything like that. So for those asking, that's what that means. But then, yeah, for the Kenny and the wild card and all this, what I don't understand is this week they showed the point standings on the broadcast and they had Roxon ahead of Craig by 14 points, even though if you go back a week, that's not how the results were. They eliminated the 2 wild cards that were in the middle of this, and Jacob doesn't sit in the standings either. So
the
Roczen's
championship
on the standings.
The championship standings on TV don't include Eli, Hayden, Jacob.
Well, at that, I didn't see post-race what they did, but before the race, it did not include Hayden and Jacob. No.
Okay. So if you go on the WSX website, the championship standings do include those riders, but they have an asterisk next to their name that says wildcards are not eligible to win the championship. Kenny does not have that.
What?
So I'm really confused. Like, do they think that Kenny signed this contract?
Well, no. Is it simply that he's technically not a wild card, and he could win the championship on 3 races? Like, if he gets enough points, they'll give him the championship. Like, is that how this works?
I don't know, because I think they've become a little bit looser with their team rules. You know, to begin with, it was very strict. They're like, if you didn't fill in, then you got fined, and you have to have this set roster, and so maybe they are a bit more flexible. And Kenny dipping out for PMG is fine as long as he's replaced by Colt Nichols, which he will be. I don't know. I don't understand, and to be honest with you, to be frank, I don't think Kenny understands either.
Well, when you asked him the question about like why aren't you racing the full series or whatever, you could tell he paused and I think was like maybe trying to think of how he could answer this. And then when he decided to answer it and give like the actual reason, he was even kind of like, I like kind of want to maybe race all of them. Like you could see it in his
it wasn't
face.
kind of. He said, I said to him, would you race all of them? He said, yeah, I had a contract.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying in that answer that he was doing as he was working through his own mindset of how to answer this question, you could see that the wheels are turning a little bit of like, maybe I should just say, I wish I was racing the whole thing at that point. But
Kenny's whole segment there talking about that was him. That was him doing an I don't know, man. Like he was.
So, do you think under the Geneva Agreement he's going to get penalized because he talked about contracts?
Wait, what?
Like Burwell said, we don't talk about contracts because of the Geneva Agreement. Kenny shouldn't have then, right?
Kenny technically didn't talk about a contract. Talked about a contract that got pulled.
He said that there was. No, he didn't say there wasn't something on the table, but he said we talked about it and came to the conclusion that these 3 races were what they wanted me to do.
No, that's a much nicer way of putting it. Hold on, I've actually written down, because I sent it to WSX, so Tom had the context to reply. Please hold. Kenny said, I actually originally had a contract for the full thing, but WSX came to an agreement that they wanted me at 3 rounds. WSX, so basically I wasn't involved. I was scheduled for the whole thing, but it only ended up being 3. And then, in response to me saying, would you do the whole series? Yeah, I had a contract. And at that point, he kind of shrugged his shoulders as well, which was like, I don't know, man.
All right, well, we'll...
I feel bad for Kenny a little bit, though, because I do think that come Sweden, the fans are probably going to come down on him and go, oh, you bailed on... We wanted to see Ken Roczen. We thought we were going to see Ken Roczen. You bailed. I feel like Kenny will be the loser in this.
I don't think that... I mean, unless unless Sweden is promoting it that way, or Cape Town, but
WSX
as far as I'm aware,
are kind of promoting it that way, because WSX are not coming out and saying Ken Roczen is leaving after Australia. Right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
So, I feel like Kenny could catch some flack for this. And I think it's happened in this sort of way in the past, hasn't it? So, I don't know. I feel bad for Kenny a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, well, I didn't want to segue too deep off of that to still talk about the racing. It was interesting, and everyone should listen to your post-race interviews, in my opinion, because like this gives good context to what we're talking about this weird championship that's not happening. You talked to Craig, you talked to Savachi, you didn't talk to Anderson, but Anderson did enough interviews on the weekend that we kind of get his thoughts as well on where they stand, because that's the championship fight, like is those 3. Craig was in the lead, if you want to call it that, after round 1. Savachi's been pretty down in the dumps through 2 rounds about his own riding, and he feels like he should be better than this, but says he feels like they're making progress and things are getting better. And I thought it was really funny how much he danced around that he seemed to be pretty pissed off that Jason Anderson went over the back of the first turn berm, and he said, like, we're friends, but honestly you should follow the rules, but we're friends. So
yeah, made it very clear that they're friends. They are friends.
Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. Like, why this is the championship fight that we're going to be talking about at the end, but it's happening live right now, and no one seems to care.
Yeah, including WSX maybe.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know. Like, it comes down to the communication element again, doesn't it? I feel like it maybe needs to be communicated a little bit more that, okay, Kenny's a whole weird deal because he's a wild card, he's not a wild card. Give Christian the red plate. Make it a bit clearer of what's going on. I don't know. I mean, give Christian the red plate is probably going to cause trouble, but if Kenny is listed as a wild card, there's not a problem with it. It's only if Kenny's listed as PMG, then it's a problem. I don't know.
Yeah, what would they have done if Jake Coop won Argentina? Would he have had the red plate?
I guess so, but potentially not. I don't know. No one knows. No, but it was a good event. No, it was a good event though. To bring it back around positively, Vancouver was good. I don't really have a complaint this week or an observation even. It was just well attended for the region and for the series Supercross. Yeah, it's fine. It was a Paris.
No, I did want to say that. I'm honestly pretty impressed with WSX TV. Like, aside from it crashing week 1, which certainly needs to be addressed, everything else has been pretty solid from like a viewership standpoint. The camera angles that they get are pretty good. The replays that they show for the most part show everything that we kind of missed. I love their UI that shows sector times and things like that. Some people haven't really liked it because it takes up a lot of the screen, but I think that's been excellent. And yeah, people had critiques about Ralph and stuff, but DB was in the booth more this week. I thought that was good. I do like that they're doing the thing where they have a podium down there. And they're kind of doing like halftime shows in between the races, and they bring some riders on, like all things that I think are good. Like, we should be doing that in general anyway. And it's cool that it's being introduced through this format because I think it adds a little extra dynamic to the racing for the viewership.
How was Lala?
Lala was Lala.
Okay. In La La Land?
Moving on. We were in La La Land.
Yeah, actually, for context, I haven't actually mentioned this anywhere. So, I got a lot of tweets that the stadium was empty for qualifying and Super Pole, which was late in the day, like 4 p.m. And a lot of people were up in arms over that. Doors actually didn't open until 5 p.m., which is weird. Everyone agreed that's weird. Yeah. That's so late. And then the physical night show, is actually only 2 hours. And the reason for that is basically to make it attractive to families with young kids and, attention spans and all of that. I would personally argue it goes the other way. And if you're bringing a family out, you're probably going, well, it's only 2 hours. Is it really worth all the hassle and everything, there's a lot of upheaval for 2 hours, in my opinion. And it does go by quite quick once you get to the night show. The positive is that there is literally no downtime for the most part. 5 minutes between mains, maybe. But yeah, that's why it looked so quiet in Super Pole. And Super Pole, to be clear, is before doors open. Super Pole is technically a part of the practice program, which people have complaints about, of course, because it is a bit weird, but that's just why they do it. And also, they probably do it because it dictates gate pick, so they need to know a bit sooner, a bit earlier. But that's a little bit of the semantics of how WSX works for everyone.
Yeah, I will say to your point about for families and stuff, for me, I would take the WSX format over the Paris format all day long for taking my families to. The Paris was 4 hours, 4.5 hours almost. It drew on forever. So
yeah, but that's Paris. Yeah. It's a loose program,
I guess. But
you know what? It's worth stopping on that because the fact that we were just dismissive of those issues with Paris, I think some people would go, well, hang on, you're not giving WSX that breathing room. But it's because Paris is what it is. It's a fun race and everyone agrees on it, and it has its place, and it's not trying to be anything more than it is.
Yeah, and Paris, I feel like they kind of sell it as like this entertainment thing a little bit. Like, you're going to come and see strobe lights and freestyle and maybe Edgar Torrenteras rapping and like all this kind of weird stuff, whereas WSX is a race.
Yeah, the Paris slogan is like 100% racing, 100% action, 200% show or something.
Yeah.
No one knows.
But it was long and drawn out for sure. But yeah, I thought that the event ran good. As you said, the fans, they filled out the lower bowl pretty good. And it's a massive stadium. We talked about this exact thing last week. The Argentina crowd and everything. The place was packed. It looked like a party atmosphere, if you will, almost the whole time because of it being a bit more, kind of close quarters and a little bit more intimate setting, if that's what you want to call it. Whereas this stadium's so big that the rafters are empty and everything feels a lot more far away. And unfortunately, a lot of the photos, because, if you get a guy whipping in the air, it's on empty grandstands because there's the lower bowl that was full and nothing else. But I thought that it was good, like well attended, good show, good racing. Track was pretty interesting, guys. Some liked it, some didn't. I liked it from a technical standpoint. It looked like it made him, a little bit more challenging this week. So I would give it a thumbs up this week.
Yeah, and there was some cohesion with round one. Like, it didn't feel like a separate event. It felt like a continuation of Argentina, which is good. I think that was one of the issues that WSX maybe had with my comments last week, was that these seem like 5 exhibition events rather than a championship. And although I won't eat my words fully, I will definitely back off that a little bit. It'll be very interesting to see what Australia feels like with a rather different cast and a week break and absolutely miles away.
One more thing I wanted to ask you about it is, and look, I know how it was for you this weekend a little bit, but generally how is everyone kind of received by like this WSX group now? Because we're on to basically kind of group 3 running this. Like, I know it's only changed hands in terms of a promotional standpoint once, but it feels like a whole new team of people. Like, how is it to work with these people? How does it seem like the media and the teams and the riders and everyone kind of interacts with them? Like, does it feel pretty successful in that standpoint?
Yes, I do still feel... I wrote this last week. Covington is going to be so critical for this championship. Crucially, just because he's a recognisable face. So I think there needs to be a lot more peddling of the Covington position, I do believe that they could still benefit from a couple more familiar faces. I feel like there's maybe still a little bit of a divide of people don't really know who is who, and it's, still very new first day of school vibes almost. But yeah, no, there's no real comment on that sort of side, to be honest.
The only reason I wanted to ask this is because for the second week in a row, we had I don't even know if you call it controversial, but a thing that happened with the racers that has led to a bit of
Simonson
kickback with Simonson. And I know that's more on the FIM side, but I'm just curious if it feels like the racers feel like they're being kind of taken care of. Like, there's a lot of open communication from promoters, from FIM, from everyone kind of trying to be on the same page, because the Simonson thing was it, and it's his fault. Based on the rule and how it's written, but
why is that a rule?
I don't know why it's a rule, but at the end of the day, it's his fault. Like, his gas cap, he said, was loose, couldn't get it on, rolled into the gate, missed the sight lap, and then rolled into the gate for race 3. I mean, as the gate dropped, basically,
and
then got
DQ'd
DQ'd
essentially.
Yeah, and then got DQ'd. So
I mean,
it's a stupid rule, but yeah,
riders skip sighting laps in MXGP, and that's an FIM rule book. So why would there be a rule for Supercross that would say that's not allowed?
I thought it would maybe more have to do with staging, like if you're not within the staging area by a certain time, like maybe what Freeze did last week, the same thing, but
maybe the wording was off, like that. It wasn't actually the sighting lap, it was another part, I don't know, but there were some interesting comments on that. Like, I think Kenny, again, actually commented on it. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up quickly.
Yeah, he did. He said, his bike was broken. That's stupid, or something.
Yeah, I
like
think
that
actually might
Instagram.
exactly be what it was. Let's see here. What? His bike had a problem. That's silly. Kate Clayson.
There you go.
Hell yeah. Oh, Roxon's actually replying to people. Ken Roxon, a sight lap isn't mandatory anyway. You know how many times that has happened before where you make it to the gate very last second? And now he's just talking to fans. Only motocross.
Okay. Again, I'm not trying to criticize the series for this, but that's, again, just one of those things where it feels like if there's a bit better communication between the FIM and the promoters and everything to get on the same page with that. This happens in AMA all the time. believe me, we see this all the time of stupid rules, and I didn't know that rule or that kind of thing. But 2 weeks in a row where Deegan misses his gate pick, and now we have a guy trying to race and then gets DQ'd. So it's
yeah. I don't know what the fix is. Is this like where, you know, we all commended the AMA because when they brought J-Bone in, everyone was like, that's such a familiar face, but it's really going to bridge the gap. So you have that in Covington as a race director. Do you need someone more in the ruling sort of side, or is that what the race director would do? I don't know. I guess the race director...
Well, but so they have a rider's briefing, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't they have a thing where like everyone goes sits in a room and they have...
Well, it's a rider meeting.
like
It's no different to the traditional rider meeting.
Well, it is different because it's not just happening randomly on the track after track walk, right? Isn't it like they pull them into a room?
No, but it's just a meeting point. Like,
yeah. But I'm saying, like, to me, that I like that better than doing it on track walk, because track walk has always felt like no one wants to say anything. We want to get the hell out of here. Whereas pull them into a meeting room, especially not on race day, you probably get a little bit more actual conversations happening. I don't know what's going on in there, but I think that that's better. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's just riders not paying attention or not reading the rule book all the way or whatever, but curious that now 2 weeks in, we've had another controversial ruling thing.
Yeah, it just makes, like, when has a sighting lap ever been that important?
I don't know. Like you said, I mean, even on the AMA side, which is, again, like it's supposed to be a subsidiary of FIM, how many people skip parade laps all the time because, I was working on something, or it's raining and I don't want to look at the track because who cares kind of thing. So
this is what Anstey said to me. Anstey said to me, if it rained in Argentina, I wouldn't have done a sighting lap. So would I have been disqualified without realizing it, you know?
Maybe. But anyway, overall, I think it was a good event. Cool to see Tomac race KTM, looked good. He said, you asked the exact question I wanted to ask him, which is, do you feel like you can be more nimble, move the bike around a little bit more? And to me, that's the biggest takeaway I got from this weekend, is he looked like he could turn that bike wherever he wanted to, throw it around a little bit more, and that's good. But he kind of just said it comes down to rider triangle, which we have talked about with Chase and how that fits him with the Cowie and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess he fits the rider triangle.
Yeah, I pushed him a little bit on that, and he did give a little bit more info than normal. We had a little bit loose Eli this weekend.
Yeah.
My friend.
Your friend. Hey, let me tell you guys about Racetech. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern to vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance. Be sure to head over to racetech.com. They got service centers all over the US and Europe to get your suspension dialed in and feeling good on the racetrack, no matter where you are in the world. So thanks to Racetech for backing the show. Let's move into some Paris discussion. We're going to have more WSX talk here in just a minute, but Paris Supercross. Malcolm Stewart, the ride of his life is what JT is calling it at this point. Goes 4 for 6 on the weekend. Wins Super Pole. Fast, good in the whoops, all around great. Now we can talk about the Lawrence brothers having stock engines. We can talk about Cooper Webb never seeming to really hit in off-season races. We can talk about Tom Vial racing a Honda for the first time, all being factors for this. But Malcolm looked pretty effing good, and that was cool.
Yeah. No, he did. I think he benefited from maybe some European influence on the WP side. I think that it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it does make sense, because if you told me that Malcolm beats Webb, that's believable, because Webb's never at his best at these races. And then if you tell me the Lawrences have problems, then yeah, Malcolm could win. But it's the manner in which he won, isn't it? It was a very commanding manner. Similar, in fact, to Tampa, where he didn't just whole shot and win, he took it by the balls a little bit. So maybe something to that with Malcolm, how it's never, what would you say? When it's on, it never comes in the form of like, oh, it's right there in front of me, I'm going to take it. It always seems to come in the form of like, I'm going forward to this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even the last race 3 on night 2 or day 2, whatever you want to call it, he started 7th. He passed Jet, he passed Hunter, he passed Vial, he passed Cooper Webb, and won the race. So he went through everybody, however they were feeling or whatever in that last race. He still did pass every single fast guy on the track, basically, and won. So incredible. I don't know that there's even much more to say other than it's just really cool to see that happen, a moment like that. He was stoked on all the tools. Whiskey Throttle asked him 100 times this weekend about buying a boat. So that's all great. Let's talk about the Lawrence brothers, though, because that's probably the biggest catalyst from what happened this weekend in Paris. Stock engines on the Honda. Lars Lindstrom made a joke on Instagram last night that he needed to try something that's a bit harder for him than usual because he did something for the boys this weekend. Weird. Jet crashes twice on the first night. Then they started uncorking the quad, and he seemed to feel a little bit more comfortable. Hunter Lawrence has a huge one in the whoops. Maybe shouldn't have even raced night 2, but does, and clearly was banged up from it. And I don't know, man. Like, I think that you have to raise some questions from this a little bit, but I'm not reading into it that much. But either way, terrible kind of weekend for them.
Yeah, it definitely adds some intrigue to the WSX Open, I believe. I'm much more motivated now to go to the WSX Open off the back of this because I have questions. My biggest question, and I said this on the Vital podcast this morning, is let's not forget the start to 2025 Supercross was not great. Then they both got hurt. So they never got time to develop the bike in a race situation. So does that loom large come 2026? Is that going to be a problem? I kind of feel like common sense says it has to be. To a degree. I mean, you could argue another off-season is perfect and just what the doctor ordered, but I don't know. I've got to think that the time missed in a race situation in 2025 Supercross is irreplaceable. And therefore, that time will have to be made up in other race situations.
It will, and I think it's telling that on the heels of this weekend, Dazzy told Steve, "I think we're not coming next year." Not necessarily because of what happened this weekend, but just he said he wanted to give the boys a rest, and it's been a lot of racing and riding, and we need to maybe have a real off season next year. But I feel like now they can maybe even look at this as like we're taking more time out of our boot camp. We're going, as you said, now to Australia in a couple weeks, and it's just it's all stacking up. Like, I feel like they're going to be a little bit more behind than they probably wanted to be by A1. And we're going to have question marks when they get there. Because, again, if you go back to last year, they were 11th and 12th at the opener.
Yeah, no, it all makes sense. And it all points to the fact that you've got to think that there's a sense of reluctancy for them to go to Australia. Because they must feel a devil on their shoulder saying, like, we need to get home. We've got work to do. We need to get home. We need to get home, you know? Like, I'd imagine that is a bit of a... Again, I have a lot of questions for them this weekend, but that has to be a bit of a mental battle, a mental to and fro. Yes, they must love the WSX Open. There's no doubt. It's probably one of their favourite weekends of the year, an irreplaceable experience, a core memory, but it is an obstacle in their Anaheim 1 preparation. And shockingly, Anaheim 1 is not far away at all now. Like, once we get through this week, basically, once we get through the Australian doubleheader, we're in December and we're a month away. Yeah. And then in that time is Christmas and we are there. Like, we are full steam ahead to Anaheim at this point. These off seasons are short, especially with how long SMX goes into it. If you're the Lawrence brothers, you race nations, so you went even into October, still racing, and then you got a couple weeks to relax, and then we're back at Paris, and now racing WSX and all this stuff. So it will come fast, and I feel like we will at some point in 2026 look back at what happened this weekend as like how much did that affect what we're seeing right now? I don't necessarily think that I'm way down on either of them still being very, very good in Supercross. Jet should come in as basically the favorite. Hunter, I think we still got to see a couple more things in Supercross before we say he's like, close to that. But I still do think that this was a weird overall weekend for them. It just looked like nothing seemed to really ever go the way they wanted it to. Zeroing in on one thing you said there, I've been reluctant to say this because, like, I don't want to come across like a dick or a negative person, but so many people have slotted Hunter in number 2 behind Jet in Supercross next year. And I think Hunter would agree to an extent. He is still quite early in his 450 Supercross journey, a discipline that naturally didn't come as naturally to him. So I think that we're putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit here, not us, but others, by putting Hunter as the clear number 2 to Jet indoors. Outdoors and SMX, have that conversation all day long. But I still believe that there is a an element of learning to be done for Hunter in Supercross that will make him a top 5 guy to begin with, but maybe a lower end top 5 guy. And then by the end of Supercross, he gets his reps, he gets some momentum critically. Maybe we see him on the podium more and more and more. But as it stands right now, I think people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves, putting him so high up in Supercross. Ultimately, he's still not won. And how many podiums does he have? A couple?
Well, I mean, he missed
under 4?
He missed just as much of Supercross this year as Jet did. You know, he raced one more heat race basically in Tampa and then was out for the year. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that we have to see him win races first before I'm even putting him anywhere near like, yeah, he's going to challenge Jet and Chase and Tomac. Like, he is. So,
yeah, like he's like the top 5 is very clearly Jet, Chase, Eli, Webb, Hunter in my mind. Like, no doubt about it, the Hunter's in that group, but to put him clearly ahead of Webb, Tomac and Sexton is far too soon and far too there's not evidence backing that up at all. So I think that's a little bit presumptuous.
If you hear that rumble behind you, that's all the bed bugs going to the keyboards right now to say, how is Deegan not top 5 already? He's going to be there by A1, bro.
Yeah. Well, if Deegan's there, he'll win, obviously. He'll perfect season.
Yeah. No, yeah, crazy weekend. How much do you think? So Cooper Webb said post race that they had this pact. No one wanted to do the quad. There's a rhythm section that, for the most part, you would either triple on off, triple single, or go inside, roll, jump on off, triple single. And almost no one wanted to do this quad out into the corner until Jet uncorked it on Sunday. And Webb said post race that if it was in season, if this was for the Supercross title, he would have done it, but backed off the gas because it's not worth it to him. Do you think like Jet? I know he did it, but do you think Jet had a little bit of that mindset this weekend, and that's why things weren't great? Like first couple laps, he looked a bit flustered. I know the engine thing, which we talked about, but he just didn't look like he had any urgency most of the time, and that seems to have cost him quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. We've all kind of theorized, haven't we, whether Jet really puts that much thought into what he does or whether he just does it instinctively. So in that vein, I would argue probably not. I think he just kind of gets on his bike and does what he can do. But it's got to factor in to a degree subconsciously, doesn't it? At the end of the day, you're a long way from home. It's a quick trip. You just want to get. There comes a point where you just want to go home in one piece as quickly as you can.
Probably after he saw Hunter crash too. That maybe.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like he's probably like, I want to get through the whoops every lap, and apparently quad things, and go home and feel happy about it. So, yeah, no, I mean that was interesting. Vial debut, A, B, C, D,
C.
Yeah,
I got caught up in the hype.
I kind of it's frustrating how many people are really mad at him OJing and landing on Jet.
Oh, I said this morning as well. Why are we all so intent on being mean to Vial? Like the amount of tweets I've seen, like that's your 2-time champion.
Yeah,
that's like, oh, wonder why he couldn't stay in America. It's like fucking hell, guys. What's Tom done?
It was so much to the point that Brent Duffy, who's obviously Deegan's mechanic and raced against Vial for a title in 2024, went to the comments and said, Tom is one of the most technically sound riders in the world. This was clearly just a small mistake. Like, you guys are overreacting. I forget where it was. It was a post that someone had made. But Duffy went in there and laid it out. Like, this is a rival of Vial. And even he was like, yeah, man, it happens. And it's the first lap. It was the first race lap he'd ever done on a 450. First rhythm section he's ever raced on a 450 in his life. Like, he just grabbed a little bit too much of throttle. Like, I thought way too many people reacted to that.
And equally lap one. Just stuff happens on lap one. It's chaotic. You know, a lot going on, sensory overload, all of that good stuff. He looked trick. Makes me wonder, build some hype for how the next Honda HRC rider will look.
Look good. The numbers on the bike are shit, in my opinion.
Straight out of Supercross the game.
Yeah, pretty much. And then red plates, I don't get either. People are saying because he was the Prince of Paris, but I don't know, man.
I thought it was just like a stock look, you know? No?
But
like,
why?
we don't have graphics yet.
But why?
I don't know. Maybe they
Play
didn't know
the
what number
game,
he was
man.
going
Like,
to be
we all
until the
run
last
white
moment.
backgrounds.
Maybe they didn't know what number he was going to be.
Is there still negotiation? Is he going to try to get it off of Rossi?
Yeah, I did wonder this, actually. I did wonder this. I would hope that Vial will go back to 28.
It's
Although
still
it's
his
weird,
Instagram name.
16 is Vial now. 16 is very much Vial.
Yeah, I mean it is in the U.S., but it's still his Instagram name, 28, Tom Vial 28. So
Yeah,
he's got it hanging out in the back of his head a little bit. But yeah, I'll give it a C. Probably could have been better. Got beat by Subs because of his bad race 1 result. So top Frenchman was Cedric Subiros. But there you go.
Yeah, Superas is also going to Australia, isn't he? He's doing it for Urive.
I don't know, man. He's going to be riding a Kajiva soon or something. He's riding all over the place and on every bike. All right, should we get into the Burwell stuff?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me tell you guys about Namura first. Namura Technologies has been a trusted name in performance engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 20 years. From complete rebuilds to high-performance upgrades, Namura delivers precision-engineered parts built to perform under pressure. Their expanding lineup includes cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and cylinder kits, all designed to meet or exceed OEM specifications. Find full product details and application coverage at namura.com. Okay, so the next part that we're going to discuss here is an interview 38 minutes long between yourself and the CEO of SX Global. Is that still what it's called?
Yep, I think so. I do believe so.
Okay. Tom Burwell, who runs WSX, basically. He's been pretty, forward facing for the most part on stuff since he got in charge. Done some interviews, done Gypsy, done TV now at Argentina. And now sat down for a pretty long interview with you. And there's a lot of really interesting things to unpack. But just as a general start to this, Lewis, how did it feel like when you left that interview? What did you take away the most? You feel like
my biggest takeaway was that it's not clear cut, and each listener will have a very different reaction. Some will listen to it and go, "I support WSX," and some will listen to it and go, "I didn't like that. I'm out."
Okay.
Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, no, I think so, because I think, and I told you some of my thoughts as well. Like you asked him pretty tough questions, which I think is totally fair.
I'm WSX Journalist of the Year.
If you're in any position of power, you're going to have to face the reality of life. Like you can't just have sugar-coated stuff all around. I think sometimes riders will get fluffed questions more often to make things better out to seem better than they are. But when you're in a position like Tom Burwell, you're going to have to answer the tough questions. And I think that we've asked hard questions of Dave Prater. We've asked hard questions of Davey Coombs. And we've asked hard questions of the people that were in the regime of WSX before Tom got there. So I think that it's fair to be critical and go, down the route of getting real answers about what's going on behind the scenes here. And I think you did a good job of that. And again, I would recommend people listen to the 38 minutes on vitalmx.com for the interview that you did. But
do you think I took it too far?
No, I don't. And this is, again, what I wanted to say. He definitely went on the back foot after, I think, like question 3 or something it was.
Yes, I did. There was a moment where I was like, the tone has shifted somewhat.
The tone shifted. He got, I would say, more aggressive. He might disagree, but listening to it sounded like he got a little bit more snappy at you about things that you had asked and so on and so forth. And my takeaway from that is that you have to be able to articulate, which he did a good job of, but articulate things about what's going on with this series and not let the emotions get the best of you. Like, it's going to be a long road for WSX to even be somewhat comparable to the establishments around the world for motocross.
And weirdly, my biggest takeaway is I don't know if they want to be.
No,
I don't know if they want to be that now. Like,
okay, can we get to that question?
Yeah, sure.
Because you did ask him, or you didn't ask him. You told him WSX will never be as big as SMX.
No, it wasn't my opinion. It was a statement. Like, I wanted snap reaction.
You wanted to snap judgment for what, and he said yes. Like, I agree. And then you followed it up with another question that was like, why or what do you think is the reason for that, or something like that? And he said, like, basically we're not trying to compete to that level. We're trying to create our own niche and our own genre a little bit, right?
Yep.
And so, okay, cool.
Like, is this not for us? Was that my takeaway? Are we like as fans, or is this not?
Well,
actually
that's what
for
he
us?
said. But that's what he said.
No, but
he
I got
said in the
confused
interview-
because at one point I felt like he was saying that all he cares about is us as tribal fans, and then at some point it was like, no, the tribal fans aren't the priority, and I was like, I think I misheard at one point and therefore lost track of sentiment. But to be clear, I've had some DMs from fans who were a bit like put out by the tribal fan comments and stuff, you know? Like
Yeah, he said tribal fans quite a bit.
Yeah.
Here's what he actually said, because I have the quote now. You said 2 statements. I want your reaction to both. First of all, if I sit here and say WSX in its current form isn't anywhere near the level of SMX, your reaction is, and he says correct. And if I say WSX will never be bigger than SMX, your reaction is, and he said correct.
Which is actually fucking groundbreaking when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, just hearing that back, we could do an hour podcast on that one word answer. My mind, like, obviously in the moment you kind of like, I'm just thinking about the conversation and think, hearing that back so plainly, my mind is blown.
And then you said you don't believe the WSX can ever eclipse that, and he asked, "What's your barometers?" And you said, "I guess generally the number one series in the world, the one that everyone looks at as the pinnacle. You don't believe WSX is that, not the motivation behind the actions here." He says, well, it depends on how you look at it, right? Because if we sit there today and we say, okay, is this the Premier League bigger than the World Cup? Is the World Cup bringing the Premier League, right? The NFL awards the World Championship every year. The NFL is played by 32 American teams, right? The NBA awards the World Championship, but they do allow a Canadian team into it, right? So all of these things are interesting barometers of servicing fans. We all believe that everything we do, we're not just us, but in sports organizations in general, what we really are is marketing production companies, right? We're producing content for people to engage in. That content can be physical, digital. We want to put sporting integrity at the heart of everything you're doing, right? So you've got to have yeah, right. You've got to have the best racing. You've got a competitive racing for people to be interested in, right? So what we recognize right now is, where is the best racing in the world? The best indoor racing or stadium racing in the world is here in the U.S., competed for by the best riders, but it isn't the world championships. We are the racing series that moves around the world, and at the moment at this moment in time, has an improved rider lineup compared to previous years, but not the very best. Our responsibility is to ensure that we are delivering the best product possible across the barometers that we see as a product, heroing those riders, those manufacturers, those teams, and developing an opportunity for business to business engagement, and doing so in all of the new markets that we go to.
So what's the goal? The goal is just to go to new markets and get bums in seats that have never been in seats before? Service the fans that are desperate for action and can't get it easily, I guess? And in which case, I circle all the way back around to, is this not a series of exhibition races then?
A little bit. I mean, he does say, I actually think that we can play an amazing role for being a supplementary to the ecosystem, in saying that if we were really successful in Buenos Aires last week and new fans engaged to the sport, and at the beginning of January, they go, I want to watch more Supercross. And the way to do that for them is to do it on the SMX Pass. Then Dave Prater and co., I'm over the moon that I've been a marketing agency for you, because that's my responsibility. So he's also kind of saying,
he's
like,
petitioning for a job at Feld? Question mark?
No, I think he's saying he wants
he's
WSX
submitting a
in
CV.
general. He wants WSX in general to be an accepted part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, because that's
There
why
is motocross around the world, and this is part of it, but there's also these other avenues that you can watch it.
Yeah. Like I said, everyone can listen to this interview. I think everyone would have a very different specific takeaway, because it is all very subjective, and it is all very... It's not cut and dry. I mean, there's no part of WSX that has been cut and dry, has there? So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we believe that at the end of the day, there's always going to be some PR speak about what what they're going to say and what they're not going to say. I mean, he clearly just, you asked him about the Ken Roxon thing and he gave you the most PR answer of all time. But it's an interesting peel behind the curtain that, from their vantage point, they do realize that it's virtually impossible to compete with the establishment as it's in place. Like they would need a carve of the market than they have or the ability to have. And I know that we talked about, okay, maybe they go into the summer a little bit next year. They have some more races over pro motocross and then into the off season and stuff like that. But you think about the ecosystem as it is, there's already so much racing, and clearly Feld and MX Sports have come together to try to make more racing in the US so people won't leave. So they're kind of, at the end of the day, always going to be stuck with these small parameters that they have to work with, and to even kind of nudge the system aside a little bit disrupts the entire ecosystem, which it sounds like Tom Burwell doesn't really want to do.
With everything that he said there, if SMX were to go international, does that not sink the entire hole in the market that he is trying to fill? Because does that not mean the hole is therefore non-existent?
Well, this also goes back to an interesting point that you discussed earlier in the interview with him, which is you said if you're not successful by, say, 5 years, like you put an X point in time on it, and he was pretty like, he kind of pushed back on you and saying like, we're in this for the long haul. We totally believe it will be profitable by 2030. He knows the markets. He knows how to build these platforms. He's seen it all before, and he has no reason to believe they're not going to be pretty successful by then. So, but as you said, great point. If WSX does go international by 2030, which Dave Prater said he'd be very disappointed if they don't, that would push back against the current ecosystem in which Tom Burwell just basically explained he exists in.
I have a lot of questions. I have more questions than answers. I don't know. I don't know. I have more questions than answers.
I mean, it's an excellent interview. It peels back the curtain on a lot. I will say, as I said,
someone said to me this morning, it's the first time that they can confidently say I'm a journalist, which is both an insult and a compliment.
I will say, what I appreciate the most about this interview is that he definitely does seem to have done quite a bit of his research on this and is more than willing to go there in terms of talking about what he's done and what he's seen and what he wants to do. More so than I expected. The more I listened to him talk, the more I was like, okay, yeah, no, he's got his eyes on, certain things that make sense, and I get where he's going and why. But then, yeah, there's also some things in there that you're like, wow, I mean, that's pretty brutally honest, but maybe also the truth, but also tough to swallow if you're them and in that position for the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I might go back and re-listen to it, because I feel like it's one of those where you really have to take it in and really pick apart the words.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to get like his actual quotes in on this too. Like I hate trying to misrepresent what he wanted to say or why he wanted to say the things that he did. But the fact that he said some of these things, I do feel like we need to, peel that back a little bit. Yeah. It was interesting. Like you also asked him about like, him wanting to be a little bit more present and forward facing in the series. And then he hit back that he did Gypsy and, so. This
all confused me because he was quite adamant to me off record that like, why do I need to be forward facing? But he's doing the press conference. He's hosting it. So like he's made the choice to be forward facing. That confused me as well. And I wish that will come up in part 2 of the interview. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, look, we went over plenty of, fine-tuning the message a little bit last week. And I guess you could say that's also part of it. To me, I think the CEO doing the press conference interviews is a pretty...
Well, it's trying to be... It's a Dana White model, isn't it? That's the kind of concept behind it.
Yes, it is. I don't know if we want that.
Well, it's different. It's different.
It is.
Okay, so you know what? Now doing that interview and understanding the way they think, you saying, I don't know if we want that, the response from him would be,
he doesn't care. It's not who he's trying to sell it to.
Yeah, who's we?
Yeah.
This
Yep.
we would want it. That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, look, again, to say more positive things, here's something I will say. I am starting to draw bigger and bigger comparisons between WSX and another thing that I watch called Speedway GP, which is the FIM World Speedway World Championship. And to me, it feels like kind of the same thing. There's leagues in Speedway that are predominantly a little bit more important to the riders, but they also race the World Championship, and that's a big deal. And the messaging between the both seems similar from what I've seen. And Speedway freaking kills it because they're very good about the stuff they put to social media, the stuff that they put on their platforms, the free stuff that they give viewers, which I would also hit back on WSX. You're making people pay for a live stream. That's fine. You've got to put way more stuff into your YouTube effort. They do a pretty good job with social media clips on their Instagram and all that as well. But their YouTube channel is pretty much non-existent right now. I had to go find it.
Yeah, it's because of this World Dirt Collective.
Yeah, when you asked him about the World Dirt Collective working alongside them, what's the deal with that? And he also kind of pushed back on that.
It's not working alongside them, it's them.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, I don't messaging. Like,
honestly, they have Covington to be the an industry guy who can communicate with the riders. They need someone from the industry to be a reference point on the communication side as well. I'm adamant about that. Not necessarily lead it, but just there to be like X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So, most importantly, I still have a row to myself, 1 hour on. I've checked it a couple of times. We're looking positive. Negatively, my flight was meant to take off at 11 p.m. last night. Or it did take off at 11 p.m. last night, the one I was meant to be on. And it's now 1 p.m. and I've just tracked it, and it's 2 hours away from landing. Which makes it seem insanely long, because I've done so much. I left the airport. I booked a hotel. I came to the hotel. I slept. I've done 2 podcasts.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Yeah, we do need to go. We do need to go because you're going to be on the time clock here in just a minute with your hotel that you're sitting in right now. Did want to discuss maybe just a couple more quick things before we go. Before we do that, I do want to say a big.
I can stay in my hotel if someone gives me $20 because that's how much an extra hour is. So.
Well, we won't get the podcast out in time for someone to give you $20.
Oh well.
Do you want me to give you $20?
Thank you. I forget his name, so I'm a massive dick. But thank you to the fan who gave me some cash at the weekend to thank me for the content. I now accept tips at the races.
Yeah, I mean, not that this is becoming a thing necessarily, but we've been given gift cards for the work that we do. Now you're getting cash. Yeah. So.
I had a lovely meal.
It's great. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, now just to be clear, I do accept tips. Now, when a fan comes up to me and says, "Oh, Lewis, nice to meet you," I'm going to be like, when you open a birthday card and just waiting for something to drop out, I'm going to be like, "Yep, great to meet you," and I'm just going to stand there staring like.
Let me quickly tell people about Partzilla. Partzilla.com is a premier OEM parts dealer and distributor. They sell OEM parts for Honda, Kawasaki, Polaris, Can-Am, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Yamaha motorcycles, ATVs, PWCs, and snowmobiles. Visit Partzilla.com to see their extensive line of parts and accessories. And Partzilla PRMX's Mitchell Harrison did indeed race at Paris this weekend, and I don't know that I saw him once. So... a bit aloof as per usual.
Yeah, weird deal.
Sad. Okay, so quickly, we have OzX coming up this weekend, and then the Australian World Supercross round after that. More excited for OzX or WSX because of Webb and Deegan?
Right now, off the back of Paris, I'm excited for OzX because I want to talk to the Lawrences.
Okay.
But equally, the lineup in Gold Coast is quite good. I'm excited for both. OzX will be an all-new experience for me. So, again, curious to see how that event runs and what they do differently and where their strengths are and all of this good stuff.
You've been to Australia to cover WSX, right?
No, I've never been to Australia.
Ever.
This is my main motivation for doing this trip is I had 2 countries left on my bucket list in life that I'd never been to. Canada and Australia. So I'm fucking done after this. I'm complete.
Nothing else, huh? You've been to Japan?
I don't want to go to Japan. I'm good. It's
Why?
not on my bucket list. It's not on my bucket. I've
Why?
done Thailand. I've done Indonesia. I've done China. I'm good. It will be similar to that.
You could literally go to like all the manufacturer headquarters, and we could see finally what it looks like there.
Okay. Were you paying?
Yeah. You want to go?
No, yeah, I'm done. After Australia, I'm done. I've completed my bucket list. Yep, it's very exciting. That's the main reason I was like, I can't say no to this, because it's literally it completes the list. And I've been saying for years, Canada and Australia are the only countries left. So Canada's done. Vancouver was impressive. I'm happy I ticked the box. San Francisco, ticked that box. Didn't expect it. It wasn't quite on the bucket list, but here we are. And then Australia.
Yeah, I feel like aside from you missing 3 rounds in the middle from almost dying
2
of mono, 2, you might end up going to more races than anybody else this year, like even riders.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I kind of regret missing those 2 races now, because I'd be even more impressive. And then failed media days, December. So
failed media days
doesn't stop.
Which is you would also, if you didn't miss those 2 races and to this point you had a perfect attendance, would you be trying to figure out how to go to Sweden and South Africa?
Failed media days are more important, and they are between.
Yeah, but they're in between, aren't they?
Yeah, so I'm not. But you're not gonna. It wouldn't logistically. It wouldn't work to do Sweden, come back, and then go to South Africa. I mean, maybe it would, but it would be. I'm good.
Give you Wi-Fi on a plane, you're good.
Oh, don't now. I'm stressing about that again. If I don't have Wi-Fi on this flight, I honestly, the plane may have to make an emergency landing, because I will be
all right
beside myself.
You're staying all next week in Australia, right? We doing a show?
Yep. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, all right. From down under.
Yes, I'll be on the Gold Coast. I go to the Gold Coast Sunday, and then I have a free Airbnb.
Are you seeing our best friend that's moving back?
Yep. Yep. That's why I'm wearing an Alpine Stars t-shirt today in honor of Jeff.
Yeah, really helpful for our sponsors.
No, okay, I did want to mention that. Apologies to Leatt. I'm living out of a suitcase now, and I'm literally in a weird connection, and I was trying to find a better t-shirt, and I was struggling, and because then I found One Industries ones, and I was just rummaging, and I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, our friend Jeff will appreciate it, even though he's not connected to the brand anymore. But
yeah, so it's in honor of Jeff. But no, thanks to Max Anstey for letting me use his Airbnb for a week and not making me pay a dime.
He thanks you in return for having a white monster on hand at the press conference.
Oh, that was brilliant. Also, because I've never seen a white monster in that sort of position, so it just looked bizarre.
It did. It really did.
Yeah, I think Eli was just fucking confused about what was going on, to be honest. Because they literally held up the press conference while I ran back to the press room to get my white monster.
Alrighty then. Okay, I think that's our show. I'm going to let you get out of your hotel room and hopefully you have a good flight tonight. We'll see if the Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi in one row. That's all. That's the bingo card.
One row might be the title of this show.
Wi-Fi one row. I swear to God, if I lose this row now, with just 9 hours until boarding, I will kick off.
All right. Well,
do you know what's bad? This is back on the Wi-Fi point. So when I went from Vancouver to San Francisco to Melbourne. In Vancouver, I went up to the gate and I said, just wanted to double check my second flight, and they were like, to Melbourne. I went, yes. That's gonna have Wi-Fi, isn't it? And they went, yeah, we think so. I was like, okay, I just needed to hear it. Just needed to hear those words just to settle my nerves. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
I will. Honestly, I booked this flight for Wi-Fi. There is a faster route, but that review said that Wi-Fi is spotty on Air New Zealand, so I'm not going that route. We are committed to the Wi-Fi.
We're all going to be sitting on the edge of our seat to see if the tweets will come through tonight. Honestly, this should be the perfect advertising opportunity for Lou's Inner Circle, and people need to follow it to find out if you got Wi-Fi or not.
Well, some people aren't. I had to be quiet in Lou's Inner Circle this weekend, but we're gonna bring it back. I just had to take care of some business. The WhatsApp group caused a bit of a stir, so yeah, no. stay tuned. I mean, if I don't have Wi-Fi, I'll be like Tom Hanks in Castaway, in the aisle on the United flight. Like when I land in Australia, I'll be coming out with a beard, talking to a football, and I'll have to be reintroduced to society because what do I do in that time? Do I? Come on, I'm breaking out in a hot sweat just thinking about it.
All right, well, let's get you out of your hotel room. Let's get you on this flight. Let's get you Wi-Fi, and let's get you people on the road as well. That's been another. What's up?
I look forward to seeing all of the LVK listeners in Melbourne and Gold Coast. I'll be very lonely, so feel free to come and have a chat because I will be bored.
I will be very sad to miss them all this weekend, but you'll do all the catching up with them for me. So thanks.
Yep, and that'll be one heck of a disappointment for them. But hey.
All right. Thanks to Leatt, Race Tech, Namura, and Partzilla for backing the show. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and listening. And we'll be back next week with Lou Down Under to recap what happened at OzX and all the happenings of the off season. See you guys.